Hi everyone, this is Gary with MacMOST.com. Let's take a look at some of the power user features that come with macOS Tahoe. So, when macOS Tahoe came out, and still now, a lot of people have focused on the design changes, the new liquid glass look. And unfortunately, this has overshadowed a lot of the power user features that come with Tahoe as well. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are like so focused on the design changes that they say they don't want to upgrade or they wish they could downgrade and all of that. And they're missing out on some things that could really help them in getting work done and productivity and all of that, just because maybe they don't like how rounded the corners are or how transparent some of the buttons are and all that. And all that's, valid. If you don't like the design, design is kind of subjective. But these features that are underneath are things that you could really use. So let's go and take a look. I have a list of about 10 of these, and I'd like to talk and show you like each one and how powerful it is and how you could be missing out if you're not using them yet on Tahoe. So let's start by taking a look at Control Center. Now, Control Center has been around for a bit. You click here in this icon at the top right, and yeah, it's got the new liquid glass design and all of that. And there's these buttons. Previously, you either couldn't customize it, or more recently you could customize, um, but you can only customize so much. Now in Tahoe, there's a ton of customization you can do, and you can just click the edit controls button here. You get this entire interface, which is very similar to how you customize widgets on the desktop, but this is for Control Center. And this is not just Control Center, but also the menu bar. You can add a lot of these items here to either the menu bar or Control Center. And there's some powerful things here, features of various different apps and parts of the operating system that you could add, things that allow you to do stuff like tile windows, go to mission control. You can change focus. You can start a quick note. You could take various screenshots with these buttons. If you don't like the keyboard shortcuts or you can't remember them, you can add buttons to Control Center. Lots of stuff. Even here under shortcuts, you have the ability to just create a button in Control Center that opens an app. So you can have your favorite apps here, and you could even then have your own shortcut. So with shortcuts, you can do all sorts of stuff, and you could add them to Control Center and just trigger them in Control Center. This is exactly the sort of thing that when somebody comes out with a little app that you can download and pay for, oh, you can put all these functions in the menu bar, people go nuts over. But Apple added this just as native functionality now to highly customize what's here. You can drag these items around, you can remove them with the minus button here, and you could create a really useful set of controls here in Control Center for you to use. Lots of cool stuff if you look through what's available. Lots of accessibility settings here. I mean, if you like kind of like, oh, I don't like liquid glass, I want to use reduced transparency, but sometimes I want to turn it off, you can have a button for it here. You don't have to find it in system settings. Tons of different things that you could add to Control Center. Now, there's so many different things that leads to my second item here, which is the fact that you're not restricted anymore to having one control center. Notice when I went to edit mode, I have this little plus button here. I could click it and I can create another control center, assign a different icon to it. So I can say use this one, but it's just like this first control center. And I could drag items or, click the plus button there to add them and put a bunch of these things here, create some shortcuts. Let's do open app, and then I can assign an app to it, choose something from the list here. Um, let's just say, oh, activity monitor, done. So, and it's going to put activity monitor here. I can just launch it and I can create a really cool set of stuff. Even if I leave some of the columns completely empty, it'll work out nicely where, it kind of centers it. It doesn't use, that waste that space there. And I could have 2, 3, 4 different control centers with different functions under it, depending upon, what I want to be able to do, and easily, switch between them and have access to things there. I think is a really powerful feature if you use it. I feel I'm not even taking advantage of it that much yet. I've just really started to try to retrain my brain from using keyboard shortcuts and other ways to access things to doing it with different control centers here, because I think this is the way to go. This is what the power user way of triggering lots of things and changing lots of settings will be, having multiple control centers. Um, so that's like my second thing, and I think you should really try to embrace that if you're in macOS Tahoe. And if you are the kind of power user that would like this, you probably already have a method for triggering things. So it's going to take a while to kind of switch to this newer method. That's what I'm running into. Now, of course, a lot of the new power user stuff has to do with Spotlight, right? There's new Spotlight search where you can get to various different sections here. You can launch apps, you can search for files, you can do actions, and you can do the clipboard, or you can just do a universal search, which does all of those. And there's a lot of focus on the apps one, and Launchpad is gone, and now you use this and all that. But power user stuff is here under actions, and you can click here to get to it, or you can just do command space and then immediately 3, so command space, command 3, and you get to these actions here. Very powerful stuff. These are like all the things that are built in, not even including the ones you can highly customize. So for instance, if I wanted to say, I don't know, create a new calendar event, I can double click on this, or I could have used the keyboard to go down there. And look, it's not just going to like launch calendar and say, oh, here's the interface for creating a new event. It actually is going to stay here inside of Spotlight and allow me to put a title, do something here for the time. So I can say, 5 p.m. To 6 p.m. And, I can just say, great, create that new event. And it will create it, and it's in the calendar now, but I never actually had to go to the calendar. And you could see a lot of the other things that were here, they have similar kinds of things to it. Like I could send a message, I can pick who to and what it says. I can start a timer and set the name of the timer. Lots of really cool stuff that you could do here in Spotlight. And instead of being kind of hidden functionality, and guess what you can do in Spotlight? It's all kind of spelled out in this list. And you could do things, and you could assign quick keys to it. So notice, new calendar event as I either I assigned it or sometimes it assigns it itself, but you could change it to just be some characters there. So now I can do like Spotlight and CNE, and it takes me right to that. Really super useful, but you have to take advantage of it. You have to get used to going here, and you can do your own thing. So you can go down here and go to shortcuts. And you can see there's a bunch of different ones for shortcuts. You can create your own shortcuts and have them appear in Spotlight. And they could even have one input parameter. They can't do the many like there are there, but you can have one input parameter, and then you could trigger those shortcuts from Spotlight, which is a much nicer way to trigger them than having to like run the Shortcuts app or remember a keyboard shortcut that you set. So super powerful. Like you could really take advantage of this and do lots of cool stuff. There's even some stuff here. Some of the default stuff is really interesting. So move file, which I have the quick key MF. It just takes 2 parameters. Well, what file am I going to move? I could just start typing, and it's actually going to do a Spotlight search inside of this. And then I can select a file based on just a few characters I type. And folder, well, um, I could start typing there, and oh, it's going to come up with folders. And I can actually institute a move of a file to a folder by just typing some things in Spotlight and never even opening up a Finder window, never even opening up the app that has this, none of that. So super powerful stuff in here that wasn't available previous to Tahoe that you could be taking advantage of. And maybe there's just 2 or 3 things in that list of all of this that you could be using, but those 2 or 3 things might be things you do all day long, and it could be a game changer for you. Also, third-party apps add things to this, and that'll probably happen more and more now that Tahoe's been out for a little while. So some really cool stuff there. So before I go any further, I just do want to mention that if you like these videos, if you find them valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MacMost through Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it right here. But I also want to mention that, MacMost is really made possible from the Patreon supporters. Started MacMost in 2007, and in 2017, I switched from having ads at macmost.com and being mainly ad supported to being directly supported by people. And macmost.com's ad free. The newsletter I send it every Thursday is ad free. And you notice there's no sponsorships. Yeah, I'm not promoting any apps or doing anything or taking sponsored posts. I don't do any of that stuff because I just get direct support from the people that find my videos valuable. So you can read about it right here. So let's get back to some of the different things that you can do that are like power user features here. And I have to mention, of course, the clipboard history stuff. So, the thing about clipboard history here, the fourth thing, Command 4 here, is it will show you things that you've copied. So, like for instance, let's go into this sample here, and I'll copy this text, Command C to copy. And I'll copy this, Command C to copy, and Command C to copy. And then if I look at the clipboard history, going to find those things there, right? So this is what you use clipboard managers for in the past. And clipboard managers have tons of extra features. Here's my own little clipboard manager, and it's got tons of stuff in it, tons of extra features. This is the basics. And I've always told people that you got to get a clipboard manager because you need the basics. You need to be able to remember, 3 copies ago. And now that's just part of the operating system. And it's you could double click on one and it will paste it. You can use this button here to the right or control click on it and copy. You can remove items. There are settings. You can clear the history. You can go to the settings for it. You can remember it for 8 hours, 30 days, or I think like 1 hour or something like that. There's a bunch of settings if you go into System Settings, Spotlight, all the way at the bottom here. There it is, 30 minutes, 8 hours, 7 days. Those are the 3. I was totally wrong on those. And you can clear the history there. You can also just turn this off if you don't want your clipboard history for some reason. It also works for images. It's not just for doing things like text. So I just copied a section of an image in Pixelmator Pro, right? And now if I go to my clipboard history, there it is. It's got that in there. So I could be pasting that somewhere else, and it will remember a history of that. So it is more than just text. So super useful feature. And I think for like 90% of the people, Mac users, this is all you need for clipboard history. 10% of us, like me, want advanced clipboard management features. And that's fine. That's what the third-party apps are for. Give us the basics in macOS, allow third-party apps to take us further if we need to. So you should definitely check that out and get used to using that. So now let's talk about another aspect of this, shortcuts. So shortcuts is always like the ultimate power user feature, and you can create shortcuts to all sorts of things. But the big new trick in macOS Tahoe is automations, which is a total game changer when it comes to shortcuts. What automations allow you to do is to have shortcuts automatically triggered from various things. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to run the Shortcuts app here, and let's go. Let me close all these windows I had open. So you run shortcuts, it may look like this. Go to Automation here. Now, you can create a new automation. I'll click the plus button here. And this is all the stuff that can trigger automations. So you can have a shortcut automatically run at a certain time of the day. You can have it run when an alarm is stopped, right? When you get an email from somebody or anybody, message from somebody or anybody. All these different triggers here, including focus triggers, changing focus. So you could actually just create a shortcut and then it automatically runs, like when you change to say the evening focus, it quits a bunch of apps or launches a bunch of apps, stuff like that. You can have focus change like when you launch, say, Keynote to give a presentation, you can automatically have it quit mail. Lots of stuff like that. As an example, let's build one. So here's one folder when files are added to a folder. So let's go and use that one. So choose the folder. So let's choose the downloads folder. Let's say we want to have PDFs that are downloaded into the downloads folder automatically move to a special PDF folder. So this automation will be when something is added to the downloads folder, then run immediately. You can have it set to run after confirmation, and you can have a notification. But let's just have it run immediately, new shortcut, and it'll receive folder change summary as input. So what we want to have it do with this is repeat with each, and I'm going to control click on this and say the shortcut input, but not just the shortcut input, which is the change summary. Click here and I'll say added files. So an aspect of change summary. Repeat with each item in added files. Let's do if. Put the if in here. If, and I'm going to click here and let's clear that out and make it clear what we're doing. The repeat item, but I'll click on repeat item and I'll say the aspect of repeat item is file extension. If the file extension is PDF, then move file, then move the repeat item to, not shortcuts, but let's go to the documents folder, and I have a folder called PDFs. So look at that. Move PDFs from downloads. And so every time the automation runs, when something's added to the downloads folder, it's going to go through the added files, if there are more than one, check to see if the file extension is PDF, and move that item to the PDFs folder. Let's go and take a look here. In the Finder, here is that PDFs folder. Go in there. There we go. And let's open up another window here. And this window is going to show my downloads. There's a bunch of downloads there. Now let's open up Safari. And I'm going to go to MACMOST, just where I know there's a handy download, to the PDF page here. The shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts PDF. And let's go ahead and download. I'm going to click the download button here, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to move this out of the way so we can see what's going on throughout this entire process. So I'll click here, and it should download. Let's say download to PDFs. It moved to downloads. There it is. And it disappeared from downloads and moved to PDFs because that was the automation that was running. If I had it set to give a notification, it would have said, hey, I just did this. So you can see how useful it could be. That's just one example. There's so many different things you can do with automations in here that could help you out. So yeah, super powerful feature there. And of course, some of you may recognize what I just did as being what folder actions used to do in Automator, which was really the last thing that Automator did that Shortcuts did not do. And now Shortcuts can do it and could do it so much better because you have so much control. I mean, I could have had it actually rename the file as well and do all sorts of things and run shell scripts and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, really cool stuff. So, so let's take a look at another aspect of using shortcuts that I think is really cool and super powerful, and that's the ability to do AI with your shortcuts. And you could have technically done it before if you had the ChatGPT app on your Mac. It would have added the ability to do some calls to ChatGPT, but now it's part of Shortcuts. It's built in, and you can use Apple Intelligence or ChatGPT. And you can even tell it you don't even want it to call it to the internet. You want it to use the local large language model on your Mac. Of course, this requires Apple Intelligence, so you have to have that enabled on your Mac and the correct region and all that stuff. But assuming all that is true, you can create some really cool AI oriented stuff. Let's look at some examples here. I want to start with this number spreadsheet here. So in this number spreadsheet, I've got a typical example. You run into, you got a list of names, and I just have 9 here, but let's say there's 100 names, and they're all sorts of different formats. Some have commas, some have middle initials, all that kind of stuff. So I want to be able to change that so that they're all in universal format. I've created this shortcut here. So it's just going to take the clipboard. It's not going to do anything fancy with numbers or anything like that. It's just going to look in the clipboard and take each line of the clipboard, split each line to a separate item, and then it's going to call out to the on-device model. So it's only going to use the LLM that's on your Mac. You could run this when you're, not connected to the internet. And it's going to say this list of names uses different formats for each name. Change it so that each name is in this format: first, middle initial with a period, last. Here is the list, and then it's going to pass in this combined text, this list here. Basically, just to make it clear here, this is splitting everything by new lines and then combining the split text by new lines just to convert basically spreadsheet format and stuff, just to make sure it's plain text. Then it's going to combine the responses with new lines. So it's going to get a list here. It's going to combine the responses and then put that in the clipboard. So the magic here is that I'm having AI worry about like how the formatting is. Otherwise, I have to write all this code to basically say, oh, if it's last name, comma, first name, do this. If there's a middle initial or middle name, do that. If it's not, then don't do anything. If, all this stuff. And the AI is just going to take care of that. So if I go to my spreadsheet here and I copy this, that's copied to the clipboard, these names and all these different formats. And I go over here to shortcuts and I just run this because it's going to get the clipboard contents. I run it, it's going to run it, and it's going to put the results in the clipboard after it's done. And there are the results. It shows you here, but now this is in the clipboard. I can just go here and paste. And you can see how it's reformatted everything. Jones, comma, Stephen Q becomes Stephen Q. Jones. That's just an example because this is the stuff AI excels at, doing things that would be difficult to spell out in code. And you just want to get the job done quickly, right? You don't want to create an entire process for it. Here's another one. This is one I like. So this just is two things. Gets the current web page from Safari, and then it says, from the article, can you find a question in the headline and give me the answer to that question? Because often you get this, you get a news article, it's got clickbait headlines, and you just answer the question. I want to read this whole article to find out what it is. This is going to take the web page, it's going to put the web page in here, control click, and you can insert variable, and that's how I added the variable from here. And that's all it's going to do. So you get a web page like this. Now, I love Snopes, right? And actually, when I see something like this, I don't mind reading the article because I'm learning something new. But it's a good, clean example to use Snopes instead of maybe a local news site or something like that. So that's the current web page in Safari. So I can just run this. I can trigger it any way I want. I could trigger it from Spotlight, which is how I normally do it. But here it does it, right? Dogs and the question of the headline is this. And the answer is yes, they are blue, but it's from a topical substance, likely from a portable toilet, not from radiation. Wow, right to the point. That's all I wanted to know. Now I understand. And great example of using AI. And the cool thing I like about it is, AI sometimes has problems with hallucinations, doing like, you know, uh, when it gets information and the information isn't quite right or something like that. But here you're actually asking it to summarize something. It's like, here's the information. Don't come up with any extra information. Just read this for me and tell me about it. So AI's large language models, it's really good for that. So let's look at a few more things here in macOS Tahoe that are useful. There, of course, is the kind of cosmetic feature. So far, I've avoided cosmetic stuff. This is the one cosmetic thing I want to talk about, and that's the ability to customize folders. So you can go and take a folder like this one here, control click on it, and then you can set a color, and you can do customize folder, and you could set an icon for it. And I've set icons for some things, like this folder right here. You can see if I do Command I, you can see it's got a thumbs up and all that. And I think it is kind of cosmetic and maybe not that useful to just, put like, let's go to icon view, the thumbs up there, the little sailboat there. That's kind of like a little cosmetic. But I think it's more useful when you are very careful in how you use it. Like, if I wanted to use this in a productive way, what I might do is only do it for one folder and not use these little imprints. These little imprints are nice. But if I go to customize folder here and then click emoji and then use an emoji character instead. So this is important stuff. So let's give it something, like I could do a red heart or something like that. It really makes this folder stand out. I think if I did it too much, if I put it for all these folders, it would be too much. But look at how quickly I can spot this folder here. And I think that works well. And it might work well in other places too. Like for instance, imagine that you are a graphic artist and you've got a folder that's filled with client folders, right? So there's all your clients going back 10 years. So there's like 150 folders in there. But you want to just be able to quickly get to like your current clients. So you could put a little heart emoji on the folders that are your 3 current clients. And that way you keep everything organized, but you can also quickly find them in the list. And then, of course, there's the ideas you don't have to go, you can use emoji, and I like it because it's a splash of color, but you can also, let's clear that out and just use one of these colors. So I think this works well, again, if you don't make them all colored in, it's just maybe your current clients in a folder of clients, or just, you've got a yellow one here, and you've got this one is going to be blue, or, a deeper blue there. And it just helps you spot those two. Using it too much makes it work less for you. But using it just a little bit can be, really super handy and help with productivity. So I also want to take the opportunity here to mention my weekly newsletter. So, okay, this is like totally free, and it is something I don't talk about enough. If you go to, the site, there's newsletter right there. You just sign up for this. You don't have to like worry about like missing a MacMost video. I post 5 new videos a week to YouTube and macmost.com for free, extra stuff to Patreon, and it's all in the newsletter, and there are no ads in it. And you just can subscribe. Your email address is not used for anything else at all. It's like totally kept secret. I don't sell it or anything like any nonsense like that. And then you could just unsubscribe if you find you're just getting too much email or you're not using it enough. So yeah, check that out. It's just a free, clean newsletter. Um, so yeah, this is what it looks like right here. You go to macmost.com and you can go to macmost.com/newsletter, and that takes you right to this page. And then you can just enter your address and you're done. And then every newsletter comes with a link at the bottom to unsubscribe because, yeah, I play like that. Clean. It's got to be clean. You can subscribe, you can unsubscribe. There's no nonsense. So, all right, let's finish up by taking a look at a couple of more features here. This is one I think a lot of people are sleeping on. It's the Journal app. And I think the reason people sleep on this is because you think journal, you think diary, you think, I'm not going to just record my thoughts for the day in a journal. I don't need that. But forget that. You can use your journal for so much else. If you ever read one of those like business productivity books or like how to get more done in a day or all that, a lot of them talk about having these little bullet journals or quick little journals that you could add where it's like a work journal and you could just add quick things. So you just hit a plus and you could, I don't even like using for this title. Title is um, too much right there to actually have a title every time. Like plus, and then there's no title. And you just say, sent the TPS reports, got the new cover page again. And that's it. You know, that's how like some of these work productivity things work. Just a quick little thing, and you just kind of make it a habit to do it each day. What the journal app really is it allows you to just add bits of text, images, maybe audio if you want to just record audio instead of typing. And each one is time stamped. You can do multiples per day. You can have as many journals as you want. You can have a work journal. You could do a new journal, and let's say I'm going to make this one my diet journal because I want to lose weight. So I'm going to, do something here. Maybe pick a food related thing here. I won't take the time to search for one diet, uh, you know, create a color like that for it. Done. And now I can go to my diet journal, and every time, if I want to record like what I ate for breakfast, eggs and bacon, um, and that's it. Got that, and you can edit it and all, and you can just keep this exercise journal. You can keep track of exercise, keep track of work, keep track of project stuff. You have you work for clients. Again, the graphic artist example. And you say, well, okay, I will use a journal to like record like when I do work for that client, which might be just for you to see how much work you're doing, whether or not you're charging enough, or maybe for them for billing. I mean, it's just any data that's going to be like a bit of data, picture, image, whatever it is, screenshot could be, and just with a time. And it's just that kind of thing. You don't have to think of it like a diary or a travel journal or anything like that. Very useful, especially the ability to have multiple ones. And yeah, I just want to show one more to round this out. And this has to do with the Passwords app. So the Passwords app is not new, but it has a new trick. And if you go to an entry in the Passwords app, like here, there's view history. This is new in Tahoe, and you can see a history of when your password was changed. This is huge. If you used password managers for a long time, like I have, you run into this situation all the time. Not all the time, but you run into it enough to be wary about password managers. You change a password at a website, and then it says, you know, your password manager says, record the new password, and you're like, yes, done. And then you finish, and then all of a sudden the website gives you an error. Oh, password not changed. You did something wrong, or website error. And you're like, oh no, I've got the new password recorded now. I don't know what the old password was, and it didn't change it. You no longer have to worry about that. You've got this history of the past passwords. So if a website fails like that, you don't have to worry about it. What I used to do with the past, all the way up to this feature, was I used to go into each entry, take the old password and paste it into the note for that entry, right? You got the notes here. And I would put old password and, you know, paste in the old password just in case the next time I went to the site, it was like, oh, I don't recognize the new password. And you're like, oh no, the website didn't record the change or something. So that is a big deal. It's a great thing. It's just automatic now. So even if you haven't been cautious like I have, if you run into this problem now, you will be able to go back and find out what the password was 3 days ago, that somehow it messed up and you still need that old password. So yeah, that kind of rounds up all of the different things that I find are really useful in macOS Tahoe that are not related to liquid glass, that don't have to do with the rounded corners, that don't have to do with the transparency and all of that. The things that when you hear people say, I'm not upgrading to Tahoe yet because I don't like how it looks or whatever, these are the things that they're missing out on that you could take advantage of when you're using Tahoe. And hopefully some of these will become really powerful things for you to get stuff done. I know a lot of these are already in heavy use by me to help me get stuff done. So that's all for this live episode. I'll have a version of this up at macmost.com shortly. Thanks for watching.